Planning Commission meeting from February the 28th from the combined meeting with the Board of Supervisors. Our first order of business is new business. Nikki?
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman. The first case under new business is the introduction of case 22 SUP 300. Landowner and applicant this evening is Aaron Byler at 257 Sprouses Lane, Dillwyn, Virginia. Tax map is 124 parcel 12. It contains approximately 121.6 acres, and as I mentioned, it's located at 257 Sprouses Lane, Dillwyn, and this is in the Maysville Magisterial District. It is a zoning district. It does an agricultural A1 district with an imposed watershed overlay. I do want to point out that this zoning district is to be superimposed over other existing districts, and the special requirements of the district shall apply in addition to the requirements of the zoning use district within which the specific property is located. All permitted uses and special uses allowed in the zoning district over which the watershed districts are superimposed shall be allowed, with a few exceptions. But a sawmill and a schoolhouse which is the next upcoming. The applicant wishes to obtain a special use permit for the purpose of operating a sawmill, and the applicant is asking the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing to hear this request. The zoning ordinance does not permit a commercial sawmill as a permitted by right use at an A1 zoning district. However, within the A1 agricultural zoning district, a commercial sawmill may be permitted by the Buckingham County Board of Supervisors by a special use permit following recommendation by the Planning Commission in accordance with this ordinance and the Code of Virginia. The Planning Commission may recommend and the Board may impose conditions to ensure protection of the district if the special use permit is approved. This case came to the attention of the zoning administrator by way of a complaint. After investigation and meeting with the landowner, it was discovered that a commercial sawmill was operating. Staff has been working with Mr. Byler since August of 2021 for a completed application to submit for review. I have attached 10 conditions for review that we may want to on this if it's moved forward. And of course, in other cases involving a sawmill, there were other conditions that were added or deleted or modified to ensure safety and protection of the county. Now, what would be the wishes of the Planning Commission? Would it be to set a hearing and date, quite possibly March 28th, 2020, our regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting? Byler is in the audience. Should any of you have any questions or concerns?
March 28th will give you proper time to get your advertisements and everything out.
If we set it today, yes, I will be giving them their signs for advertisement. They could put those out as early as tomorrow, which would give us more than 21 days prior to the meeting.
Very good. Do any of the commissioners have any questions at this point? If not, I'm going to ask the applicant to come forward and just briefly go over what he wants to do. All right. Mr. Byler, would you step forward to the podium, sir, and just, I think that mic on, Nikki, right there?
This one?
Yeah, I believe that's on, yeah. Just give us a quick summary of what you want to do and where we stand at.
Am I on?
You're on.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for what you do as our elected officials in the county. So, yeah, how do we proceed? Do you have questions or?
Okay. He's got the narrative in the package, and let's see, there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask you, just to make sure we understand. Looks like you probably have, if I'm reading it correctly, you'll have maybe one tractor trailer load of finished lumber to go out a weekly.
That's my capabilities, yes.
Respect, okay. And you may have 2 loads possibly of
Yeah,
coming in.
and that's
material.
using semi-trailers.
Okay. Do you anticipate any weeks that you might have more than 2 loads coming in?
Well, that's looking at the average. You know, one week you may get 3 or 4, the next week you may get none.
Right.
You know, depending on the weather. I mean, you're in the timber business, you understand that, you know, weather conditions and all. So.
Right. And at this time, you have no plans to expand at this time?
I don't, no, but I'm putting in my written narrative that if lumber markets continue thriving, some expansion may be done in the form of expanding the building by 25% and increasing production by up to 50%. And I just put that in just
Right.
kind of to cover myself.
Right.
But,
Well-
no, I don't have any plans yet to expand. My focus would be to keep it a small business, be self-employed, just kind of do my own thing.
What kind of hours do you plan to be operating, do you think? I know I'm not gonna hold you to a fixed one, but just when you, hours
No,
of
I-
operation?
I kind of start when I get around to it in the morning, generally around 7 o'clock.
Okay,
And some afternoons I may quit at 3 o'clock, others I may 4 o'clock. But, on the average, I take an hour for lunch, I take a coffee break in the morning, about 9:30, 10 o'clock, So really, I'm running the mill about 7 hours a day, 6, 7 hours a day.
okay,
Some days I don't run it at all.
right. And it looks like you're anticipating basically Monday through Friday for the most part?
Yeah,
Do
for the
you-
most part, yeah.
Yeah, do you anticipate working any time on Saturday,
Generally
Sunday?
not, no.
When we talked before, one of my concerns was making sure your road was wide enough for emergency vehicles.
You're talking about the proposed new roadway.
Yeah, the entrance, I think you're gonna be fine on, because, but, when you tie in with the existing, just make sure that's wide enough to get emergency vehicles down there if need be.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I've sort of monopolizing the time. Does any other commissioners have questions at all? Danny, do you have something?
Well, I'm just looking, I hadn't had a chance to look at it, but it was saying that the entrance does not meet the requirements.
Right.
But I didn't know what was you counting on doing, I see what it beat out it wrote down.
Well, what,
Go ahead.
DD can't give me approval for the entrance we have, and that's because of the site distance. So we picked out an alternative site, and he's given me approval for that site. Now, there's nothing there yet. Like I said, I just have approval from him that would meet his specs.
So where did you end up at? I mean, it used to be the, what was it called?
Better
Where the
cross
motorcycle cross would
Yeah.
go in it. So you already got pictures, all right? It is, I hadn't got, I just got my packet today.
This is the original.
Mr. Byler has asserted that he
okay.
has ownership of
Yeah,
about
on
1.5
Bowles Avenue.
acres
Yeah,
coming off of Route 20.
To get the
So
site
when he had an
distance,
issue
and
with
then what
Sprouse's
they'll do
Lane,
is
he
they'll come
contacted
across
Mr.
and tie
Edwards
in
with
with the
VDOT
existing.
again.
But this has not been approved.
The VDOT representative went to
Everything,
the
I mean,
location
he
on
owns
Route
it, it's
20,
been
which
laid
is
out. The only thing
why
is
there
it's
is
been
an
approved and not
explanation.
Developed.
Okay, I see, so it's okay with VDOT.
Yes.
The existing entrance would be on Sprouse's Lane, and it's indicated in the Mr. Edwards' report that the existing entrance, which would be Sprouse's, does not meet site distance requirements for this application. Applicant has been issued a VDOT land use permit to construct a low-volume commercial entrance at an adjacent location, which are the plats that Mr. Byler turned in for the, I think it's 1.6 acres.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a strip of land off of Route 20, and he has asserted that he has ownership of that piece of property, and that would be, according to Mr. Edwards' VDOT report, that would satisfy the requirements, and applicant has been informed of risks created and legalities of continued use at the existing entrance on Sprouse's Lane.
So it's down there next to Pauline Steinrock's house? Is that what,
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
that's what it looks like to me.
What's that again, mister?
Your driveway's gonna be down next to Pauline Steinrock?
Yeah, it's
house?
between the Wrights Lane, the trailer court, and Polly's house.
Oh, okay.
It's just that little piece of property there that Mr. Bobby Sprouse, at some time, he had gotten that from Mrs. Steinrock. I was told there had been some issue with Sprouse's Lane, using that as a grandfathered in right away. So he went and got that piece of property, but he never did anything with it.
So will that be going around behind the trailer court there?
Yeah,
Will it go behind that brick house? Her house, and then your road, and then there's a brick house back here, and then there's a trailer court
yeah, it goes all the way around the,
behind
you know,
the brick
the
house.
trailer court, and it ties, that piece of property ties into our property. Then it'll head over towards Sprouse's Lane, and then tie into Sprouse's Lane at some point.
So that's something that you're working on now?
No, I was told there's nothing I can do until I get my special use permit. That's what Nikki said. So we're just,
Yeah, I just usually look.
that's
and
just
it's-
on hold, you know.
Mr. Allen, at this time, a formal site plan is not required. He knows what the next steps are with VDOT for
Okay.
his entrance. Should he move forward with the special use permit and it is, granted at the end of the process, then he'd have to present those engineered plans to VDOT for their approval to adhere to that
Okay.
state guideline.
You're talking about the entrance.
Yes.
ED is not requiring engineered drawings for that.
It tells you on here that you have a land use permit, so at the end of the day, your construction of that low-volume commercial entrance, if there's an additional statement that Mr. Edwards needs to put with this, please contact him and let him know that supplemental information, okay?
Yeah, I'm just going by what he told me. He just told me basically what he's looking for, and he's not gonna require an engineered drawing for that, for the entrance. But, while we're on, Sprouse's Lane entrance, question I always have and had is, I think we all know what that motocross track was all about. I mean, that was before my time. But why and how was that permitted? I mean, why are we concerned about a few trucks?
Now, hit it one more time. I'm listening. Why was it permitted for the motorcycle thing?
Yeah, you know, all these years.
That's probably before all the zoning come out, you know, this is.
When did zoning come out?
October of 1997.
Yeah, it was in the 90s.
More
Yeah.
likely grandfathered in, but I would also say, with speculation, that that's the reason that Mr. Sprouse had acquired that deeded right-of-way, knowing that at some point, because it's limited sight distance, that he may have to move that entrance. So I expect I expect he was aware of it. It just, you gotta remember too, that was something that was not on a regular basis. I think he did it, what was it, 4 or 5 times a year or something like that?
Something like that.
So, but yeah, it was I would expect it was grandfathered in. But I do believe that's why he had already acquired this, other easement in, because of, probably been brought to his attention that if he was to increase the level of the activity down there, he'd probably have to have a new entrance to get the sight distance.
Well, what about, I think about as recently as that tractor pull that was held there.
Mhm.
Wasn't that an issue then? Didn't they have to have a special use permit for that?
If I remember correctly, they had flagmen out there at that point.
I think what I understand is that they purchased a one-day permit for
Yeah.
each day of it, had
And I
flaggers
do
and law
believe, I
enforcement.
recall, because I went to that, they had, if I recall, they had flagmen out there.
Yeah, police was standing on the road all day too.
Yeah, on both directions on 20 for the traffic. And you gotta remember too, with you had some trucks with trailers, but you didn't have semi-trucks coming in with loads of logs or lumber going out. So, you got a much longer, vehicle because of the trailer length on it.
Right.
And that's
Right.
part of the problem with the existing one. So that's why VDOT's, I'm sure is one of the reasons VDOT is asking you, turning down the existing entrance because of the, amount of sight distance or less.
Yeah,
Less sight is-
that was his problem with it. The sight distance, he called it sight distance. Just doesn't quite.
Yeah, you gotta have so many feet of sight distance before it's easy to turn without somebody seeing you or with somebody seeing you.
I suspect if you were willing to get with VDOT and want to,
What's that?
and pay somebody to go out and flag for you, they probably would
Well,
agree to it.
Dee Dee mentioned
In
that.
the long run, you'd be a
Yeah.
lot better off with the
No,
new
it-
entrance.
It wouldn't be feasible.
Yeah,
no.
exactly, yeah.
But, I guess another question I had, while we're talking about flagmen, is the issue coming in or is the issue going out?
Probably both. I don't know without talking to the representative of VDOT, but I suspect it's both in and out.
Probably,
Just for the fact, if you're coming down Sprouse's Corner and turn on 20, and you're going north, you have to cross the lane to get into your.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, that
And if you
that
do it the other
driveway
way,
is,
you
is
could be
built
turning-
to,
Yeah.
you know, it's
You know,
not just
tractor
built for
trailers
cars.
will take up the entire Route 20, turning one,
Uh,
turning in and turning out, so,
Kind of close, yeah, yeah.
and that's the reason for it. Any other questions from the commissioners, concerns?
That's okay with it. That's fine.
Now, what would you, as the planning commission, is there any requirements that I would have to follow as far as constructing the new driveway, or who dictates that?
Well, as far as the entrance, that's gonna come under VDOT's authority.
Right.
My only concern with the access, ingress, egress is just like I told you on the phone, I just would like to require that it has the width enough to make sure you can get an emergency vehicle in there.
You're talking about the new driveway.
Well, the new driveway plus the existing sprouts, when you tie back in, or really the whole road from 20 in and out.
Yeah, well, you know, my thoughts as far as if there's ever an emergency, you would want your emergency vehicles to come in the closest way, and that's gonna be Sprouse's Lane. I mean, somebody's gonna be concerned about, hey, we can't have a fire truck coming in there because it's not safe. I mean, that's,
Possibly,
you know, that's-
and I don't disagree with it, they may, but either, you know, if you've got a brand-new entrance with sight distance and, you know, I can't speak for them, I don't know which way they would come. You know, if they would come, I would assume they would take the new entrance because most of the time they're gonna be coming from 15.
yeah, but it'd still be a lot quicker to just go on 20 a little bit and then come in Sprouse's Lane.
Well, I'm not gonna be, personally, I'm not concerned with that section of the old road. I'm concerned with the new entrance, the section of road from when you turn off 20 till you get to your sawmill, just to have it wide enough that in case you have emergency, a fire, or someone happens to get hurt or something, that
Right.
you can get emergency
But
vehicle
the-
in, do that, yeah.
The existing driveway and entrance is adequate to get a fire truck in. I mean,
Okay.
you know, if I
That-
can get an 18-wheeler
that's-
in there, it's,
That's called, isn't it?
it's no
I said, that's VDOT's, that's not,
The entrance,
yeah.
and they will put some input on that also, but anyway.
Yeah, VDOT's gonna take care of the road and all, but they're already put on here that it's, that road ain't gonna pass because it doesn't have a sight distance.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And Nikki, is it in our, I hadn't looked, is it in our conditions that once we pass this, that he has to get that road fixed?
No, it's not in any of these conditions.
Well, I mean, so why do we have VDOT saying that it don't?
What are you talking about what Johnny was speaking to, Mr. Bickford was speaking to, and alluding to the width of the road, or are you talking about the
That road
entrance?
there, I mean, we've used it for years.
Sprouse's Lane was turned down, I can go print that off, I was looking through my emails on my phone, it doesn't go back far enough. Sprouse's Lane was turned down for, I believe, two specific reasons. Number one, it has, too many driveways, I don't have this verbiage correct because I can't remember exactly what VDOT said, but that Sprouse's Lane cannot be used for anything else on Mr. Ballard's property, or anyone else apparently that comes there. But I can go get that one that was turned down. So the question that you're asking me, is it the width of the new road that's leading to the sawmill, or what is, I just need to understand your request.
Okay. VDOT has turned that road down.
This one on Sprouse's Lane.
Exactly.
I did have a conversation with Mr. Edwards, if he would be able to tie back in to where his driveway is off of Sprouse's Lane, and there was no concern to tying back in to Sprouse's, to where he had indicated he was going to on the Sprouse's Lane to enter that property. But he cannot use Sprouse's Lane for this entrance.
So if you can't use it, then it ought to be at least a condition here that's saying, once we approve it, then he's got to make that new road.
Well, if you want to put a specific VDOT construction plan to address specifically the new roadway, otherwise,
I think the driveway from the highway is the only place that the VDOT's gonna be worried about.
that is, so that's the state. So
Yeah,
do
the
you- if you want
state
to put in a
will
new
say it's gotta have a, what do you call it?
low-volume construction entrance type
A
thing.
business interest, more or less, yeah. And
So-
then the rest of it, I mean, he's gonna have tractor trailers coming down, and he knows you gotta have it a little bit wide.
yeah, I mean, just common sense. I mean, make
Yeah.
it big enough and wide enough, I mean.
Yeah, right, I mean, but
Well, the simple fix to that, Danny, was just request a gate be put at the, he's gonna tie back into it, and it's still on his property, just ask for a gate there on Sprouse's Lane.
Where you gonna put the gate at? Are we
Mr. Bickford?
at the end?
Not at the end. If you're coming in, when the new entrance comes in like this and turns and then ties into Sprouse's Lane, right there where it ties in, you just put, if you put a gate, that'll stop any traffic from going any farther, and it has to be on a new road.
I guess you'd have to
No,
look and see how many other houses are down below that gate.
Well, they would be, that's gonna be on his property, it wouldn't be on where those houses, you follow me, they're far enough in, it's on his property all the way.
Okay, but the people who live, way I took it now, I haven't looked at it close, but way I took it, the people living on the driveway, they can use the driveway.
They would still be able to use it. His
So if you
gate's
put the
going,
gate, if you put the gate right here and somebody else got a driveway 50 feet below that,
Well,
then you're blocking them.
if you put it on his property, is what I'm getting at. He's here and all the people that live are between there and 20. Cause it's on his property.
Okay, well, I don't
You
know
see what
that.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
If they're using it, it's gonna be from his gate out to 20, so it wouldn't affect them whatsoever.
okay. I mean, as long as you know that all the other private driveways are above that.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
okay.
exactly. You couldn't block that. I certainly agree with you.
Right.
That's why I say put it back where he ties in and just put a gate there, if that's a concern.
Excuse me, but I don't follow you with your gate. Like, where are you putting the
Uh,
gate?
Right, yeah. If y'all can take this map here, Aaron, and look, if you want, this new roads will come over in time with the existing road. When you tie in, just put a gate right there.
Across Sprouse's Lane?
Yeah. If that's a concern, if that's what Mr. Allen wants, then the other people will be coming in between that gate and
There's
20.
nobody using that driveway except
I wish I had all
us,
right.
257 Sprouse's Lane. And you see that little driveway up there?
Right here.
That's another address, and that's another family living there.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
We're
that.
sharing Sprouse's Lane, and we're
Okay.
planning
Well,
on
you can't- you
continuing
wouldn't be
to
able to put a gate
use
there then.
Sprouse's Lane as our private entrance.
Yeah, I understand. I thought you could put a gate there, but I see what you're saying. So you wouldn't be able to do that because you've got this, someone inside on, coming from this property here, so.
And besides, like I said, we'd be using that as our private,
Right, okay.
for our property.
We could put something, Danny, to that any, to specify only the new entrance can be used, a new section of road for truck traffic.
Yeah, you could
Make that a condition.
do that.
I
I mean,
think that will,
I see what he was saying too.
Yeah,
You
I
turn
didn't
in,
realize
turn
there
in the
was
new
another-
driveway, but,
Yeah.
on the other hand, if you got ready to leave and you was turning back toward Dillon, you'd be all right to use the old driveway. Sight distance wise, but I see what you're saying.
I didn't realize there was that on another.
And that's gonna make it a little more complicated.
But,
a little more
even if
different.
there wouldn't be, we'd still want to use that
Yeah,
as our private.
we could just say, we can just make a condition, Nikki, to restrict any truck traffic to the new entrance and new section of road, and that should.
That's the whole
take care
point of
of it. Yeah.
putting that
That's the
in, right?
purpose of putting the road in.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And, like you said, the biggest complaint is the sight distance.
Right.
And that would, that's what they usually say causes wrecks, because you can't see close enough and whip off in front of them. But, so yeah, that part coming in would be the big deal.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you now? I mean, is that a clear picture?
Yeah, yeah. I just don't
Well,
want to
it'll
put no
look better
gates in
once
the
we
wrong
get
way.
some language on it, Nikki gets a proper language, hopefully that'll clear it up for you.
Right.
I think if you just specify all truck traffic in and out has to do the new section of road and new entrance, that'll cover what your concerns.
How many trucks you get of, logging trucks do you get days time?
That's in here.
And I just got mine today,
In
so
a-
I ain't had a chance to read it.
My capabilities are, excuse me, doing about 10,000 board feet a week.
10,000 board feet?
And that amounts to about, 2 loads of logs, 1 load of lumber, give or take.
Okay.
And That's just using semi-trucks as a guide. Now, I get some trucks in, straight trucks. I get, have some lumber going out on gooseneck trailers. But just for the purpose of giving you an idea, what my capabilities are, that I use the semi-truck rule.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You probably you used to get rid of like 4,000 feet on a truck.
Excuse me?
Used to be like 4,000 feet of lugs on a truck.
That depends if it's pine or oak,
Yeah, been over smaller stuff, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just thinking out loud.
What's that?
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Do any other commissioners,
Yeah,
questions? Go ahead, Steve.
would it be feasible to have signage on the road, maybe? I know when you have, timber being cut, you have signs out, but on a daily basis, I wonder would it be a good idea to have some type of signage north and south to say trucks entering highway, or we could work with VDOT on that maybe?
You're talking about using the existing driveway?
No.
No, the new
just
entrance.
on Route
No, a
20,
sign to
just
keep
have this-
people from using it.
Just have this on Route 20, that where your trucks are coming in and out of there. Where people would see that,
That's between you and VDOT, but I wouldn't have a problem with that,
Yeah.
anything to make it safer, I mean,
gonna be quite a few trucks, I'm sure.
not really, not for my operation.
Just a suggestion,
I think it's a good one, I mean, even if it's just a few trucks,
Yeah.
just make people aware, watch for trucks.
I think since most of our questions have been centered around the commercial entrance, that might be a good idea to have VDOT here if we do move this along to public hearing.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea, or at least have a letter from them. I agree with that. That would be something I think.
They're supposed to be at the meeting with, but after the long meeting Monday evening, and they were available, they may not have been to reconvene, but yes, we can have them present for the public hearing if you choose.
Or
to.
even just a written statement,
Sure.
updating it, whichever's most convenient for them.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go back to Mr. Dorier. He indicated signage. Do you want that in along with,
Yeah, I think it would be
addressing
something
commercial and
that,
traffic through?
right, just say
traffic on
truck entrance. I think that would
Saw me,
suffice.
yeah, saw me only interest here, yeah.
Yeah. That wouldn't
something that
hurt.
VDOT would agree to also, because they do the signage.
Talking about Dee Dee or talking about Scott?
I'm gonna contact Scott Frederick.
While we're on the subject of VDOT, just from hearing you talk, Nikki was saying one of the reasons that Mr. Edwards couldn't approve that entrance was because there's already 2 dwellings for that. I don't know where he comes by with that, because later he told me it's not an issue. But still, he put that on as one of the reasons that entrance failed.
You referring to the original entrance?
Yeah, the Sprouse's Lane entrance. That was one of the reasons that he couldn't approve that entrance. But
Yeah, I think Nick.
later he told me no, you can have more than one, So
well,
I don't
have
know why he
to-
put that on there, but I still think bottom line is the sight distance.
Right. Well, I think that was her main concern. She's gonna go see if she can find the, report she got from Edwards on that, why they
Yeah.
said that you need a new entrance. Oh, and on my question about the emergency, as long as you can get your tractor trailers down and in and out, that would probably suffice for emergency vehicle. So you're gonna,
Seems to me
to be able to operate the way you want to, you're gonna have your, road is, will fit that criteria that you can get emergency vehicle down there,
Yeah.
so. In the interim, does, more questions from the commission?
Got many people working for you?
Present.
You? That ain't bad, that ain't bad.
Just one more, so I'm looking at your drawings for, it says existing building, but your quote is dated January. Have you already built this building that you intend to
Yes,
use?
it's an existing building, and I do have engineered approval on the building. Do you have that in front of you?
I do,
Okay,
this,
okay.
yes. Was that built specifically for this project, or had you been using it for other purposes also?
Excuse me?
Had you been using it prior to the sawmill project for other purposes?
It was built to house the sawmill. And at that time, I wasn't focusing on a commercial operation. I was focusing on harvesting and cutting my own timber off the farm there.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I looked at some of the building reports that we get in our packet each month for building permits, and I hadn't seen that it was, in prior months permitted for that, so that's why I was asking.
That building would have been built in spring of 2018.
Mr. Bowles, if you want to sit down till Nikki gets back, you're welcome to do that versus
right.
standing there.
I'll do that.
I thought she'd be back by now, but she hadn't gotten there, and she might be having difficulty finding it, so we'll call you back up when she gets back here. Okay, sir?
What you doing? How'd the polls go? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Bowles, if you'll step up here, I'll read you what they said, so you can understand the two reasons. The first, which was probably the primary one, is you had the site distance to the south. It exceeded the minimum 495 feet stopping site distance. The site distance to the north, however, didn't. It was maximum of 455 feet, and that was not accepted. And the other thing is, what you're referring to, there are two residential dwellings utilizing the entrance and private roads, Prouse's Lane. And that is the maximum use allowed of circumstances. So that were your two reasons. Because you already had you didn't have the site distance for a commercial interest, which was the primary one, but also because it was two residential dwellings that are already using the existing road, which is your neighbors, that was the maximum they would allow.
Does that make sense to you? You can just have two dwellings on one driveway?
I think because it's you were asking for a commercial entrance, that was the reason for it. If it was gonna be just a regular driveway, I doubt they would have had an issue with it, but being it was gonna be a commercial entrance.
Yeah, because somehow that doesn't quite make sense with what Mr. Edwards had told me later.
Right.
Later I gathered from him that, no, you could have more houses on that driveway. So I was kind of confused. What's he trying to say?
Well, I would say what he was saying is you can use, if it existed as it was without a commercial entrance, that you could have more homes using that. But because you wanted a commercial entrance, that triggered more stringent conditions and parameters. And you didn't have the site distance for a commercial entrance. And apparently, one of their criteria is that you cannot have on a commercial entrance more than two residential dwellings utilizing that.
That doesn't quite,
I can't
Right,
speak,
with what
yeah,
he's
I
told me,
understand, but I
yeah.
can't speak to that because I don't know what Mr. Edwards told you.
I've asked him
I can only
about
tell you
the-
what I'm reading here.
yeah, I understand. I'm not holding you for it, but,
But you are fine, you've already made the arrangements for the new entrance and all, so, you can still use this, because it's not gonna be a commercial entrance for your ingress egress.
right.
your trucks will have to use the new entrance.
Right,
So,
right.
okay. All right, any other questions or comments at this point? Have a motion to move forward to public hearing or deny?
I'll make a motion that we move to public hearing, with VDOT available at the public hearing.
Okay, I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Okay, all, any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Okay, Mr. Byler, we'll see you on March 28th.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Byler. Okay, Nikki, that brings us to the next application.
Get back to my packet. The next introduction is case 22 SUP 301, landowners Aaron Byler, 257 Sprouses Lane, Dillwyn, and the applicant is Amos Smucker of 17 Bear Branch Road, Farmville. Tax map is 12412, it contains 121 acres, and it is at 257 Sprouses Lane. Again, this is an agricultural district A1 with a watershed overlay. This applicant wishes to obtain a special use permit for the purpose of operating a private school, one-room schoolhouse. The applicant is asking the planning commission to hold a public hearing to hear this request. Once again, zoning ordinance does not permit a private school as a permitted by right use. However, within the A1 district and watershed, a private school may be permitted by the Buckingham County Board of Supervisors by a special use permit following recommendation by the planning commission. In accordance with this ordinance and the Code of Virginia. Mr. Smucker has submitted a completed application for review. I have attached 10 conditions that are very similar and the same to the last private one-room schoolhouse that was approved for a special use permit last year.
Okay. Any questions before I ask the applicant to come forward for the commissioners? All right, Ms. Smucker, would you come forward, sir, and just give us a quick overlay of your request?
Good evening, everybody. It's nice
Good
to meet
evening.
you. So it's the one-room schoolhouse like we normally have. We didn't change anything. Operates from August till May. And there's a written narrative on there. I thought I have my paperwork and everything with me, and I was looking for my It's a one-room Amish parochial school. The schoolhouse size is 30 by 42, which includes an 8 by 20 porch, open porch. This says three-quarter acre fenced playground. From what we measured, it's probably going to be a little more than a three-quarter acre, more like an acre, due to that well that was in there. We want to keep the outhouses 100 feet away from that well. So that pushed our fence down a little further towards Aaron Byler's. It may be more than a three-quarter acre. It's one teacher per school. Max students per school is 35. They usually start around the last week of August and the second or third week of May. The ages of school children are 5 years, 10 months to 13 years. And the hours of operation is 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. So I had a question. It's kind of, I'm not sure what word to use. Not really unfortunate. It's just the way it is. It happens to be that we have we call it a book society. There's a a board group or a group of committee members that take care of our schools in general. We just do putting the permits and doing the building projects or whatever. That's what. So when they had a meeting to pick a site, so they picked a site and then we prepared for the building project. And they picked a site right there that would make the most sense for, you know, area-wise where most scholars are, and to relieve the other schools that need more space. And it happens to be on Sprouse's Lane where they need a new entrance.
Right.
So my question was, Aaron wasn't sure if he can have his, I should back up a little further. First when I talked with Dee Dee, he said, no big deal. And then I applied for the permit. There's a traffic impact determination application. So I called him about that, and then he changed his mind. It was like, you know, in order to have the school there, we cannot use the old driveway for the school. It's gonna have, the only way he can improve it is if Aaron puts a new driveway in for the commercial entrance. Then recently Aaron pointed out he's not sure how this is all gonna work out. Is the new driveway gonna be finished by the time we're like August? The old one till that one's finished, or?
That's a question you'd have to ask the VDOT rep, which he will be here on the March 28th. Of course, their concern is going to be safety, and that's the whole issue there. If you were to get approved, it could be as soon as April, end of April, correct?
Special use permit?
Yes, by the Board of Supervisors
May.
in May. So you would have May to August to get the entrance developed in a new section of road. That should give you enough time to get that done, I would think. But if circumstances did, and you can certainly ask the VDOT rep, but it would come under their authority. We couldn't tell you because we have to rely on them because it is a state road.
So they're saying the schoolhouse has to have a commercial driveway just like your house?
What, it was in one of the things from the VDOT, they're saying that the schoolhouse traffic will have to also use the commercial entrance because of the site distance. And I assume it would reflect back on the safety issue of not worrying about the carriages turning off and not having enough site distance.
Well, there's some more questions I would have for him. He may not even be aware of what kind of traffic it generates.
Well, that would be good. You haven't had a chance to discuss this with the rep? I would suggest, well, you can tell us, and it'll go on public record here. So you got maximum of 35 students, if I'm reading correctly?
Yeah, that's the max.
Okay.
Most times they're
And
just
how
like
many
20.
buggies do you feel like you would have to get, if you had a maximum of 35 students, how many buggies would you have coming in and going out in school day? Do you have any idea?
Well, yeah, on that particular site, there probably won't be any.
That would be a good thing. I
Yeah,
would think if you
I
had a
don't think
van or something to bring your kids
Yeah,
back and
just-
forth.
Right.
Just
yeah.
one van is all we expect.
Well, I think that you need to make that aware to the VDOT representative then. If that's the situation, he may allow, if you don't have for whatever reason, the new commercial entrance has not been developed by that point that you need to start your school year. If your students are coming in on a van, he may very well allow it, at least on a temporary basis. But again, we can't answer that because it's a VDOT issue.
But since it's on 20, I don't think we're gonna even, consider any horse and buggies or, if it would be a horse and buggy, it'd be driven by 11, 12-year-old, and that's no.
Right, yeah. It would be ideal if you didn't have, Dan, there's a lot of traffic on 20.
That's
And,
just, I
yeah,
don't think that's an option. In my mind, it's not an option.
Okay,
And the other thing that, Mr. Edwards had mentioned was that, are you gonna have school children walking along 20? And I said, no.
yeah,
But I can't speak for somebody else that moves in 10 years from now. I just hope they never do.
right.
They might cross the road. You know, there's nobody close enough that it would happen.
Okay.
I don't know where they would buy a piece of land that would allow them to do that, really.
I think for safety reasons and after talking to you, I think I would suggest that it would be a condition that the children had to be brought in by van versus buggy, in other words, because that's what you want and that's the safest thing to do. It'd probably be good to have it in the conditions that require that. And then that way, anybody new that comes into your community understands that, this is, you have to be, their children have to come in the van or another van, whatever.
Either a van or driven by an adult.
Oh, I'm sorry, driven?
Or the horse would be driven by an adult.
Yeah, but just thinking that Route 20 is a very
Yeah.
busy road,
I-
and I'd hate to see you
Yeah,
have
for
it more.
safety, I don't even know if you want to do that. That's, it's just a lot of traffic on 20. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, would that be a condition set by VDOT, the safety of what kind of traffic is allowed on those specific roads?
It would be a VDOT for whether they can use, temporarily, they've already said they have to use a commercial use, excuse me. It would be VDOT approval or their authority as whether they could give a temporary use of the existing road is what he was asking for. It's now, as far as the conditions saying the children have to be brought in by a van, that would be our authority. That would be one of our conditions, if we wanted to add that to it. And that goes back to just basically safety for the,
Right,
the children and as well as the people traveling 20, so.
right, but I just didn't know if it was VDOT covering that safety issue or if that was.
They
if
will
we
do
took
the,
recommendations from VDOT
right,
saying, because we already know that the trucks have to use that commercial
Mm-hmm.
entrance. And the residents, that normal resident traffic can use Sprouse's Lane.
correct.
And so I didn't know if,
Well,
But
I
it's-
think we could still make the condition, and we'd probably want to have their input.
okay,
What you may be able to do, and this would go back to Mr. Byler's case or application, is at the time that you think between, when was it, I'm sorry, August to May, at those times, 8 a.m., right before 8 a.m., and say between 2:30 and 3 and 7:30 and 8, that no truck traffic can come in or out. And that will protect,
the
the school
children,
children coming
right, the
in and
students
going.
there. So, yeah,
so we could make a condition for his application, and that would serve both applications, would be my suggestion. And that would be under our authority.
so we still actually need VDOT's.
It would be good to
a lot
have
of
their input on
VDOT's
it.
Input.
Yeah. Did that answer your question at all, Mr.
Yeah.
Plucker?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So we still need to talk with, or somebody needs to talk with Didi. I was not able to get a hold of him. He's a busy man.
We will have a VDOT representative at the March 28th.
March 28th, yes,
I will
ma'am.
have him go back and watch the YouTube video from tonight so that he can compile answers to the questions that were raised, and he'll be prepared March 28th.
So for us to move forward, we're getting close to a deadline, for us to have the schoolhouse built by August and ready to use. What are our options, Think it might move forward, or do we have to look for another site somewhere?
Well, the next step here in the process is just like Mr. Byler's, we move it forward to a public hearing. And at that time, we'll have the VDOT representative here, and he will comment on both cases, for the entrance. And from that, we'll probably finish up our conditions for you. It's sort of, honestly, Mr. Smucker, it hinges a lot on what the VDOT rep says, because they have that authority, not this commission or the Board of Supervisors. So if they say, no, you gotta use that commercial entrance before the school, and I'm gonna tell you, in his letter, it says they don't authorize, or what, I forgot what it was, suggested building the school until the entrance is.
They don't condone the building of a schoolhouse until a new entrance has been constructed and completed and
Right.
recorded to be.
So I don't know, I'm gonna prepare you, I don't know if they're gonna back off of that or not. So, you know, you need to be aware of that, you know, if Mr. Byler's approval happens, and then you get to school, they may say you can't start school until that entrance is completed and the road is established. So, but if everything works right, you'll have June, July, 2 months to get the entrance in and the road built. What time do you usually start in August on your school year?
It's usually the last week of August.
So really, you almost got 3 months. You almost got 90 days. So hopefully that will work for you. So, any other questions for the applicant? Have a motion to approve or deny?
Make a motion to move on to a public hearing.
Okay, have a motion to approve
I second it.
and second. Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. Mr. Walker, we'll see you on the 28th, and hopefully the VDOT rep will be here and you can ask him these questions.
Thank you.
And then,
Appreciate it.
okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, he'll be here, and we'll get him all settled in.
Ms. Cobb, it brings us to your reports.
The building permit report is in for your, review. The only thing that I have to report this evening, under zoning administrator is that we will be having the work session on Monday, March 21st. We talked about it in February, but, the 22nd of February was not open on the calendar for the boardroom here. So that was pushed to March 21st, and that will be at 7 PM. There will be agenda prepared a week before, like always, and we discussed, having signs or signage and site plans. I do have a few other items, that we can take a look at, in our zoning ordinance as well, just some items for discussion. Home-based operations will be one of those. So, just wanted to remind you all, March 21st, 7 PM, and then we'll move both of these cases forward to March 28th, 7 PM for a public hearing.
I assume you will send us a notification just to make sure.
I will send a reminder and I will send a packet, so.
Okay, thank you.
Nick, I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question, one other question. These packets that have been growing at my house, that you send us the week before,
Yes.
all right, proper storage, can I bring them back to you? Because I try to keep the 3 previous months, but now I have a year's worth of packets.
You can, at our
And
work
so-
session, we may be addressing that, in an effort to make everything more efficient for the planning commission as it is for the board of supervisors. There have been, I think it's iPads purchased, for the planning commission, and the utilization of, Dropbox or a Google. Jamie Shoemaker is our IT director, so he knows those wonderful, alternative measures that we're gonna take. So that will come with a review page and an agreement for electronic, receipt of the packages and those type of things. So we're trying to take paper off of you. You also get the packet a bit quicker because as soon as it's uploaded to our website, you all will have access to it. You're welcome. You will, have an email address issued, to you as well, which will be a county issued email address for correspondence with anyone that has questions, comments, or concerns. So, you should see that on the 21st as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Any other comments or from the board? Planning commissioners have anything they want to discuss? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We adjourn. I'm not even gonna ask for discussion. All raise your right hand. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, John.